Hello friends, welcome to the Viva Voce of Anatomy. Today we will going to discuss about the atypical cervical vertebrae. Atypical cervical vertebrae are the vertebrae which are differ from the typical cervical vertebrae, and they are the C1, C2 and the C7. First we will discuss the C1 cervical vertebrae. The C1 cervical vertebrae is also known as a atlas. Now it is ring shape. It is neither having the body nor having the spine. Simultaneously, we compare it with the typical cervical vertebrae. Okay. Here in the typical cervical vertebrae having the body and the spine, here it is absent. Okay. Now we see the feature of the typical C1 cervical vertebrae. It is having anterior arch, posterior arch, lateral mass and the transverse process. First, the anterior arch. The anterior arch in the midline anteriorly present one tubercle which is known as an anterior median tubercle, whereas its posterior surface is marked by a facet which will articulate with the dens of the C2 anterior arch. Second, the posterior arch. The posterior arch will form the 2/5 of the ring. It present in the midline posteriorly one tubercle which is known as a posterior median tubercle. Now behind the lateral mass, the superior surface of a posterior arch is marked by a groove. Now the third part is a lateral mass. The feature of the lateral mass are its superior surface present the elongated facet which is known as a superior articular facet which is directed forward and the medially, and it is concave. The superior articular facet articulate with the corresponding occipital condyle to form the atlanto-occipital joint. The atlanto-occipital joint is an ellipsoid variety of a synovial joint. Now, inferior surface present the flat circular inferior articular facet which articulate with the superior articular facet of a C2 cervical vertebrae and form atlanto-axial joint, which is a plain variety of synovial joint. Now, the medial surface of a lateral mass is marked by a small rough tubercle. The fourth part is a transverse process. The transverse process is little bit larger and it is also pierced by the foramina transverse seria. Now we see the attachment and the relation of the atlas. The anterior median tubercle provides the attachment of a anterior longitudinal ligament, and on the each side of it provides insertion of a upper oblique part of a longus colli. The upper border of a anterior arch provides the attachment of anterior atlanto-occipital membrane, whereas the lower border provides the attachment to the lateral fiber of a anterior longitudinal ligament. Now the posterior arch. The posterior arch in the upper border behind the groove. Upper border provides the attachment of posterior atlanto-occipital membrane, whereas the lower border provides the attachment of ligamentum flavum. The posterior median tubercle of the posterior arch provides the attachment of a ligamentum nuchae. Now, this groove part on the upper surface of the posterior arch is lodged by, or it is occupied by, the vertebral artery and the first cervical nerve. Now, the tubercle on the medial side of a lateral mass provides the attachment of a transverse ligament of an atlas. The transverse ligament of an atlas. Transverse process give origin to the rectus capitis lateralis from its upper surface anteriorly, the superior oblique muscle from its upper surface posteriorly, the inferior oblique muscle from its lower surface and the tip, and the levator scapulae from the lateral margin and the lower surface. So these are the attachment and the relation of an atlas. Now we will move to the second cervical vertebra, that is the atypical cervical vertebra. It is also known as a axis. It is identified by the presence of a dense or a odontoid process which is projected upward from the body. Now we see the feature. First the body and the dens. The dens is projected upwards from the upper surface of the body. The body, its anterior surface is marked by a median ridge. On the each side of the median ridge, the anterior surface is hollowed out. The lower surface will present the prominent anterior margin which is project downwards, and the posterior surface is marked by a numerous foramina. The second part is a pedicle. The pedicle superiorly it is concealed by the superior articular process which is reached up to the side of the body, and it also contains the superior articular facet. On the inferior part of a pedicle present the inferior vertebral notch which lies in front of the inferior articular process, whereas the superior vertebral notch lies on the upper border of a lamina behind the superior articular process. The lamina are thick and the longer. They are directed posterior-medially. From the junction of the lamina arise the short and the strong spine which is grooved inferiorly, the spine. Now the articular facet. The superior articular facet is flat, rounded and directed upwards and laterally. The superior articular facet is large, flat and circular, directed upward and laterally. It articulates with inferior articular facet of atlas to form the lateral atlantoaxial joint. It is a plain variety of synovial joint. Whereas the inferior articular facet, it is directed forward and laterally from the inferior articular process. It articulates with the superior articular facet of a third cervical vertebrae. Now the transverse process will contain only the true posterior tubercle, and the foramina transversarium in it is directed upwards and laterally because it is overhung by the superior articular process. So these are the features of a second cervical vertebrae. Now we see the articulation of a C1 and the C2. The dens of a C2 articulate with a posterior surface of an anterior arch like this, and from the median atlanto-occipital joint which is a pivot variety of synovial joint. And these two facet, inferior articular facet of the C1 and the superior articular facet of a C2 will form the lateral atlanto-axial joint which is a plain variety of synovial joint. Now we see the attachment of a C2. The dens provides the attachment to the apical ligament towards its apex. Right? Now the anterior surface of the body receives the insertion of a longus colli muscle, and the posterior surface will provide attachment from below upwards the posterior longitudinal ligament, membrana tectoria, and the vertical band of a cruciate ligament. The lamina provides the attachment of a ligamentum flava. The transverse process gives the origin at its tips to the levator scapulae, the scalenus medius anteriorly, and the splenius cervicis posteriorly. The spine gives attachment to the ligamentum nuchae and also the deep muscle of the back of the neck. So this is a C2 axis vertebrae, the atypical cervical vertebrae. Now we will move to the last atypical cervical vertebrae, that is a C7, which is also known as a vertebrae prominens because it is having a long, thick, prominent spinous process. Now what is the atypical thing in the C7? It is having a long, thick, nearly horizontal spine. Its tip is not bifid, but instead it is end into the prominent tubercle. The transverse process is comparatively larger and its anterior tubercle is absent, having the true posterior tubercle. The transverse process will contain sometimes a small, a double, or a absent foramina transversarium. This foramina transversarium of C7, remember, it will not transmit the vertebral artery, it only transmits the accessory vertebral vein. The tip of the spine can be used to counting the vertebrae in the living, as it is easily felt in the lower part of the back of the neck at the knuckle furrow. Now, this tip of a spine of a C7 provides the attachment to the ligamentum nuchae, the trapezius muscle, rhomboidus minor muscle, serratus posterior superior, splenius capitis, semispinalis thoracic, spinalis cervicis, interspinalis, and the multifidus. The posterior tubercle provides the attachment of a supradural membrane. So this is all about the atypical cervical vertebrae. Thank you.
If you like this video, like it and share with your friends. And to get the regular update on the anatomy videos, please subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon.